You know, while America's caught up in the grip of the pandemic, there is still a president to elect come November, and there are lots of questions about how campaigns will have to adapt in this crisis. Now, Joe Biden says his selection committee for a vice president will probably start meeting on May 1st. But of course, some people, because they're bored, want him to now explain and accelerate everything. And they think they need to tell him that he needs to tell us right now what he's doing to to get people excited, generate some excitement. But is that his job? Is it his job to generate people's thing, or is it his job to stay the course, Joy?
Donald Trump has provided more excitement than I ever wanted or needed in my life, and the incompetence that goes along with it, and for a lifetime. No, I think that what you need is somebody who is stable. You need somebody who's going to bring sanity, stability, empathy, a sense of calm to the nation. I mean, I find Kim Kardashian exciting, but I don't want her to be president either, you know? So I've had enough excitement for a while. Is that your question? What was your question?
Right. So you don't. Well, that is the question. Is it Joe Biden's job to excite the base? Does he need to do that, or does he need to stay the course and get his ducks in order so we can actually hear what he wants to do when he's ready to talk it up? That's the question.
Yeah, well, he does need more exposure. I'll give him that. I mean, this guy's on every night, bloviating for 2-3 hours, taking questions, making up stories. Biden could use a little airtime, and I think that the media should start giving it to him, starting with us. We should have him here on a regular basis. And as far as a vice presidential pick, I think that somebody who's going to bring the states that he needs is where that has to go. And somebody who we could see as the next president who will continue to bring stability and calmness and empathy to a country that's in pain, basically. I mean, we are in pain right now, and we need somebody to take care of us. And I think that man is Joe Biden.
Okay. Well, you know who loves to campaign, as you said, Joy. He's been out doing that since the day he got elected, actually. And people are saying, well, Joe has to counter that. And so the question, I guess, to you, Megan, is what do you see as the way for Joe to take this on without becoming, you know, a counterpunch to this man?
Yeah, I think it's difficult right now because obviously his huge strength is his retail politics. I have yet to meet anyone who has met and interacted with this man in person and didn't come away saying, I may just not disagree, or I may disagree with some of his politics, but he's a really authentic person. And that is a huge gift and a huge asset to the Biden campaign. And with the coronavirus, he's unable to do that right now. I do think, you know, he's talking about announcing his cabinet early and the people he's going to choose. And I actually think this could be really interesting and provocative, because if we all know Joe, and all of us on this show do, I actually think it has the potential to be a really bipartisan cabinet. And again, I'm only telling you this is conjecture of my own beliefs, nothing I know. That it could be, we could see Republicans and Democrats and independents in this cabinet. And I do think, to Joy's point, this country is in a lot of pain. And if there's one thing that I'm constantly striving for, it's for us to be meeting in the middle and celebrating the things that unite us as a country instead of the things that tear us apart. We're in the middle of one of the great crises of my lifetime, of all of our lifetimes. And I do think a president who has character and empathy is something that most Americans are longing for. And I think the worse these job numbers get, the worse the unemployment numbers get, I think the more he has to benefit from this. My big concern is just his inability to campaign right now. And there's nothing we can do about that, except, as you pointed out, Joy, continue to interview him, continue to put him on our air as we would any candidate.
Right. Sonny, what do you think the big thing that Biden should be doing right now?
Look, I think his biggest hurdle right now is he's got to increase turnout among the Democratic base. And I'm really encouraged by his commitment to select a woman as the vice president. But the road to the White House is powered by Black women. There's just no question about it. No Democratic presidential nominee has won the White House in over 40 years without the support, the leadership, and the vote from Black women. And I think that the key to igniting that type of base and voters across that demographic is choosing a Black woman. Biden can't really Tim Kaine this selection. He just can't. If you think about 2016, had we followed the lead of African American female voters, Trump would not be president. But that is what people did not do. They did not follow the lead of African American women. And so, we know now that Clyburn, who really, his endorsement, I think, turned around Joe Biden's, campaign completely in South Carolina. He told NPR last month that he wants to see a Black female vice presidential candidate. And so my suggestion is that Joe Biden really needs to follow that advice and make sure that those voters, the most loyal voters to the Democratic Party, are going to turn out in droves. And the way to do that is by choosing a Black woman as his vice presidential candidate.
I don't dismiss anything Sunny's saying. I think that the African-American female vote has always been integral to the Democratic base, and it will continue to be. But I do think going forward, these swing state poll numbers that have come out in the past few days, and there's actually one from Fox of all places that's really interesting, that he is winning over these areas in the Rust Belt, and they're going to be particularly hard hit by this economic and pandemic crisis, just like they were in 2008. So I do think while it is important to focus on all minorities, but he really has the Black vote pretty shored up. I mean, he has extremely high numbers. I believe they're the highest since President Obama. And I do think they need to be focusing on the Rust Belt as well.